So today we'll be talking about God's definition of God. That is, who is God? What is required to be God? What are the requirements? So God's definition of God. Now it all overlaps. It all comes back together. But to put it simply, God's definition of God is to be God. You have to be the maximum. You have to be the maximum possible, the peak, the highest possible. That means your own version of things has to be the maximum. Your own your version of things, your iteration of things, your definition of things, your way of doing things has to be the maximum possible. It cannot be improved, it cannot be bettered, it cannot be corrected. If it can be corrected, if it can be improved, then whoever improved it is God. Because he's superior to you, he's greater than you. If not, how come he's correcting you? So the definition of God, the basic definition of God, the most fundamental definition of God is that you have to be the maximum. You have to be the maximum possible. So that said, that's a simple definition. Then now we'll have to go, I'll give one more iteration of God so you can understand. Can't go into too many of it because it will get too complicated. So I'll give one more iteration of God. So now to understand this, as I was saying in the last video yesterday, where I was discussing God's definition of speed. I mentioned about the times, and half a time that's discussed in the Bible, mentioned in the Bible, in the book of Revelation, in the book of Daniel. Explain how it is the God equation or the God progression, if you like. This helps us understand how God does things. So that is time times half a time. If we put it in sequence, it's actually half, 1, and 2. Times is 2, time is 1, and half a time is half. So half, 1, and 2. That's how God does it. That's the God progression. So in this light, I was explaining, as I did yesterday, that God always, anything he creates, anything he's doing, he makes basically three versions. Actually more than that, but to put it on a simple fundamental level, let's just say it's three versions. That is the half, 1, and 2. So in this case, that will be referring to the impostor version, the actual version, and the essence. The impostor means it's a fake, it's the look-alike. The impostor is the problem. When they say Satan, it's actually the impostor we are talking about. It's not the opposite. So that will give you a clue now for what we're going to discuss tomorrow. But Satan is actually God's look-alike. He's not God's opposite. Satan looks enough like God to make you think he is God while not being God. That is why he's called a deceiver. If he was simply the opposite of God, if God was good and Satan was wicked, you would never go to Satan. The problem is that Satan at the beginning, on some level, looks like he is the good one. That is how he lures you to himself. So, the impostor version, that's the look-alike, then the actual thing, the real thing, and then the essence of the real thing. So God is actually the essence. God is the two. God is the two. When God says spirits, that is the one. Those are like the angels. But he himself is like a spirit of spirits. So one is the essence of the angels, while the angels are the essence of what the imposter is supposed to be. What the imposter is like the superficial version of things. He only does the things on the superficial level, on the surface level. The angels, that is the one, does it actually, really does it. Then the two, God himself does it fundamentally. That means it's like, even when he's not doing it, he's actually doing it. That's how badly he does it. Even when he's doing the opposite of it, he's still doing nothing, because that opposite thing that he's doing will still achieve what he was trying to, what the thing is supposed to achieve in the first place. While the impostor will seem like he's doing it, but is going to achieve something else. I don't want to get too complicated, but just let's have it at the back of our mind. So the impostor is a lookalike. So the impostor is half, the actual is 1, and the essence, God, is 2. That is time times half a time. So in this light, to know God, you have to be able to tell him from the impostor. Now, the false definition of God, and this is where the confusion really comes in with religious people and the whole world generally, is that they think God is power. They think God is licensed to be able to do whatever you want. You create anything you want, you do whatever you want. But license is not God, it's not an attribute of God. It's not even an attribute of God, it's actually an attribute of the devil. The power to do whatever you want is an attribute of the devil, it's not an attribute of God. And to make it simple, we'll give you physical examples, human examples of people that had power, people that had license. Any dictator in the world, any crooked politician that abuse their power, that do whatever they want to do because they are in a position to be able to. They have more resources than you, they have more power than you, they have military backup, whatever kind of they have more flex, and they do what things that they are not supposed to do. That is not an attribute of God. If not, that means all these dictators, Idi Amin, Kim Jong-un, Saddam Hussein, Hitler, or whoever terrible person you want to call upon, that did whatever he wanted to do because he had the resources to do so, is God, or is an expression of God, or is what God is supposed to look like. That is not what God looks like. So the God that can do and undo, or can do miracles, can bless whoever he wants to bless and curse whoever he wants to curse, is not God. It's not an attribute of God. That is where part of the major confusion comes from, and he allows it to be that way. In fact, if you look for him, he will start you off on that course to feel that he can do anything, or that he is supposed to do anything he wants. Then, if you are faithful with that, like I keep emphasizing about faithfulness, if you are faithful with that, you realize that this thing is wrong, it doesn't work. But when you are unfaithful, you keep on thinking that he hasn't blessed you because you didn't do certain things right. But if you are faithful, he will not bless you in that light, and he will not make things work in that light. So you can see that there's something wrong with this design. So if you start as a Christian, he will first introduce you to that omnipotent version of God. If you start as a Muslim, start as anybody religious, if you at all you call on God and you are looking for him, he will always start you up on that road. Then if you are faithful, you discover that it is wrong. If you're not faithful, you keep on going around about it and keep on trying to justify it. That is where 90% of religious people find themselves. That's why religion doesn't make sense. So, but now, God is not licensed. Actually, God is the one in chains. Satan is the one that has license to do whatever he wants, that does whatever he wants with power that he has. God is the one in chains. God has chained himself to righteousness. God has chained himself to only be able to do what is right, what is proper, what needs to be done. He chains himself to only do what is fair. So he's the one that is limited. Satan can do anything. Satan can do either good or bad, right or wrong. That's why you see the tree of knowledge of good and evil. He has access to both. While God's tree was the tree of life. Only one thing. Only the productive thing. Only the thing that is right. Only the thing that bears fruit. God can only do what is productive, what is helpful. He is limited to that. He chains himself. That's why you hear sometimes you say, put yourself under my yoke, under the mighty yoke of God. He's telling you to limit yourself to the right thing. That is what will actually give you the power. Because when you are doing the right thing, then you are justified to do what you are doing. But when you are doing the wrong thing, then you keep on disqualifying yourself. You are taking away your own justifications, thinking that you are being powerful. You are laying foundation for your power to be taken away from you because you are abusing it. So the more you abuse power, the more you give people the more you give people justification or power to rebel against you. And the more you stay within the confines of righteousness, the more justified you are to have even more power, to have the power that you do have. And the more people will be willing to bow to you. Because when they check everything you are doing is right, they cannot fault it. So that inability to be faulted, that limitation to only doing the right thing is what makes God God. That is, so the essence of God is righteousness. The essence of God is not power. It is righteousness that makes God God. It's not his ability to do whatever he wants. The ability to do whatever you want is the essence of the devil. It's not the essence of God. So when God comes about doing miracles and doing things, that is the illusion of God. The proof of God is not miracles. The proof of God is actually righteousness, actually justice, actually fairness. I try not to make these videos go too long, so I have to stop there. If I should get deeper into it now, videos start taking into over 20 minutes. So I want them to always be within 10 to 12 minutes. So we have to stop there for today. So basically, that is it. God is the maximum possible to start with. So this will be like God's definition of God, part 1. God is the maximum possible. And then his essence is righteousness, it's not power. The proof of God is righteousness, it's not power, it's not miracles. It's not miracles simply means that you can bend laws and make things happen whether they are supposed to happen or not. That's the essence of miracles. So it looks like a wonderful thing, but it's actually a wrong thing. Because it's just power. Do and undo whatever you want to do, whether it is right or not. Righteousness is doing what needs to be done, what is supposed to be done, what to be productive, what to be helpful. That is the part of God. That is the proof of God. That's where God limits himself. God limits himself to. So, maximum righteousness. The illusion of God is that it's not necessarily the maximum. It's just what this person said. That's a proof of illusion. 2 is that he can do whatever he wants to do. That's the illusion of God. I told you that the illusion is the problem. It looks like him, but it's not quite. When you push it to the limit, you say, this thing is not producing what we need it to produce. On the surface, on the superficial level, you think this is what we need to be. You think this is the attribute that if you are a God, this is what you should be. You should be all powerful. But you see that being all powerful does not produce the solutions that God is supposed to produce. It produces problems. And being limited to righteousness, being limited, is actually what produces the solutions that you need God to produce. So we'll start there. So, introductions. As always, my name is Funom Zock-Sock. I started this YouTube channel so that I could teach you God's way of doing things, God's version of things. Simply put, we're going to be dealing mostly with social systems, social fixes. So I'm laying foundations right now. If you would like to join me, I'll be happy to have you. I'll be posting videos every day for the most part, as much as possible every day. And yeah, that's basically it. It's nice to meet you, as always. See you soon.